everybody, JC here with another TNI toy review. And today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Avengers animated series based 6-inch action figures from Hasbro. Now these figures come packaged on card backs. Up at the top you've got the Avengers logo, and then you have images of Captain America, Hulk, Thor, and Iron Man. The figures are clearly displayed, and then down below you have some artwork for each character and the name. And then on the back of the card backs, pretty much the same. You have artwork for each of the characters again. You have a brief bio, and then down below it shows you the other figures in the series. So we've got Captain America, Iron Man, and Black Widow, which I'll be taking a look at today. And there's also a Hulk figure out there, which I have not yet seen on store shelves. All right, let's get these open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figures outside the packaging along with the other contents. Now, as I mentioned before, these figures are based on the DisneyXD Avengers animated series. Hasbro also does figures for Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Unlimited animated series, and Guardians of the Galaxy. All are in about the same scale as these figures. Hasbro also just recently announced that they're going to start doing play sets. They're going to do a Spider-Man one in this scale, so it's kind of cool that we're getting play sets. These figures are obviously geared for younger kids. The articulation is somewhat limited, and the paint applications are pretty basic. You know, these are listed as 6-inch figures, but they are a bit shorter than a normal Marvel Legends. For accessories, Captain America comes with his shield, and this is very similar to what we see with the Marvel Legend figures. It's done with just plastic. You've got the red, white, and blue, and the star in the middle, and the star is actually sculpted. It's not just painted, as are the lines, the circle lines. And then you've got the little clamp on the back to hook on the wrist of the figure, or you can push it down, and you've got the peg so you can plug it into the back of the figure, so it looks like he's wearing it on his back. So again, very similar to what we see in the Marvel Legends line. Black Widow comes with her energy batons, and these are done with just plastic, a pretty hard plastic, a little bending, but not too much, and they come out of the packaging pretty straight. You've got that kind of sky neon blue color for most of the baton, and then you've got the black for the handles, and then again you've got the blue at the bottom tip of the handles as well. And the Black Widow figure will hold both batons nice and tight in her hands. And then finally, the Iron Man figure does not come with any kind of accessory at all. So for the figures themselves, starting with Iron Man, I think this is actually a pretty nice looking figure. Basic paint applications, which is kind of to be expected for a kid's line like this. But I do like the gold metallic paint that they used on the gold portions of the armor. He's got the blue on the eyes. For the unibeam or arc reactor on his chest, it's just done with a sticker. I think it's a sticker. It might be painted, but it's, you know, we've seen this with the Marvel Legends line. It's just white with the blue outline. Again, with his repulsor blast, you've got that white circle with the blue outline, and even on the outside portions of the armor. So overall, though, I like the sculpting detail. He's got these little circle discs on his waist, and he's got the line work here throughout the armor. So it looks pretty good. The red portions are just basically red plastic, so no real paint detail there. But overall, I do like the look of this figure, and I think they've captured the appearance of Iron Man and how he appears in the cartoon, or at least from what I remember. He may be wearing a different armor. I haven't watched the cartoon in a while, but at least in the earlier episodes, this pretty much is what the armor looked like. With Black Widow, again, I think they've done a pretty good job here. Very basic paint applications. You've just got the red hair, no wash effect, but I like the way the hair is sculpted, and I think the face sculpt on this one actually looks pretty good. She does have green eyes, and then she's got the red lipstick, and she's got the eyebrows, which are the same color as her hair. She's got the Widow symbol on her chest. The rest of the outfit's basically just a black type color, but you've got some sculpting detail with the line work, so it looks like she's wearing the leather, jumpsuit, and then she's got the gauntlets, which are done with just a lighter gray plastic. Again, not a whole lot of paint detail. No paint detail on the belt. She's got the Widow symbol on her belt buckle, but it's not painted. The rest of the belt, again, is done with just that kind of light gray plastic. And she's got light gray on her knee pads. And then the rest of the figure is just done with that black. Captain America, to me, is probably the most disappointing looking figure of the bunch, mainly because he's missing some paint applications. He's missing the red portions that are supposed to be on the top part of his costume, which are actually featured in the artwork, but they did not include on the actual figure. So again, that's a little disappointing. Also, I don't like the way the star looks on his chest. It looks a little funky to me. It is sculpted on there. It's not just painted, so I do like that. And then he's got the red and the white here in his midsection. He's got the brown for the harness and the belt. And his gloves are brown. And his boots are brown, which I believe is cartoon accurate. But definitely, I think the figure would have looked better if they had added those red portions on the upper part of the costume. So Iron Man stands just a hair under 6 inches tall. Captain America stands closer to 5 3/4 inches tall. And then Black Widow is a little bit over 5.5 inches tall. So I would say the overall scale between these three is pretty good. And then here's a comparison with the Marvel Legends movie counterparts. So you can see that each of the Marvel Legend figures are taller than these animated series versions. So articulation is pretty much the same across the board with all three figures. You can turn the heads to the left and the right. Now Captain America has no back or forth movement, or very little. Iron Man has a little more movement there with the head. He can move his head back and forth a little bit more, and he can actually pivot his head a little bit to the left and right. Same with Black Widow. She can move her head a little bit to the up and down. But overall, I would say basically you've just got the limited rotation with the head, not a whole lot of additional movement. Now the arms do have ball hinge joints at the shoulder, so you can get the arms out, and they do have good rotation. And then they don't have bicep swivels, but they do have swivels at the elbow. Single hinged elbow, so they can bend their elbows about that much. No wrist articulation, no midsection articulation. For the legs, you can only do the legs forward and back. You can't do the splits or anything. The Black Widow figure does have basically the legs are attached with ball joints, so unlike Captain America and Iron Man, she can't actually do the splits. And then there's no thigh articulation and no knee articulation. That's probably the most disappointing to me, is that they didn't give these guys knee joints, and then no ankle articulation either. And then the figures do have peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I would say this is a pretty good line for what it is. And basically how I see this line is it's kind of like an introductory line to younger kids for Marvel figures. So if you have if you're an adult collector, has an extensive Marvel Legends collection, and your kid's always eyeing it and wants to play with them, but you really don't want them to play with them because you don't want them to be ruined, I think this is a good line to look at getting for your kids. They don't cost a whole lot. They cost between about $7 or $8. And we are getting like play sets and stuff, at least with the Spider-Man ones, and probably will eventually see it with the Avengers ones as well. I would have liked to have seen a little more articulation as far as the knees go, and maybe a little more paint detail on the Captain America figure. But again, I think they've done a pretty good job with these. All three of these figures are out on shelves now. There's also a Hulk figure, which I've not seen on shelves, but I believe it is. Technically, it's been released. We'll have a full image gallery up at marvelousnews.com. I'll have a link in the video description below to that. As always, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. Also, if you haven't already, please follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I'll also have links to those in the video description below. And until next time, I'll catch you later.